Over the past 2 months, American newspapers and numerous news portals have regularly published articles about the coordinated changes in the Ukrainian arena of hostilities. In particular, American journalists and military experts began to recognize that the Russian army seized the initiative on the battlefield despite the unprecedented support for the armed forces of Ukraine by the United States and other Western countries. Moreover, despite the powerful Western propaganda, many American experts began to admit that since February 2022, the armed forces of Ukraine have not been able to liberate any major strategic city. Experts admit that the city of Kherson and the Kharkiv region, which came under the control of the Ukrainian army in September 2022, were given by the Russians without a fight. Thus, the Russians voluntarily gave up these territories, which allowed the Russian army to gain time and create the most powerful line of defense in the history of wars. And now, 6 months after the beginning of the Ukrainian army's counteroffensive, the correctness of this decision has become clear. During all this time, the Ukrainian army failed to break through the so-called Surovikin line and almost completely exhausted its combat potential. As a result, the Kiev authorities have to regularly resort to draconian measures to forcibly mobilize citizens of the country, rapidly emptying the human resources of Ukraine. The overall picture of the deteriorating situation at the front also began to spoil the frank statements by many Ukrainian soldiers and even high-ranking officers. So, a few days ago, the commander of the Joint Forces of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, Lieutenant General Sergei Naev, explicitly recognized the superiority of the Russian army on the battlefield. In particular, during an interview with American journalists from ABC News, Sergei Naev openly stated that the power of the Russian military-industrial complex is growing rapidly. According to him, Russia will continue to technologically improve its army and increase the production of all types of weapons, and Moscow is allegedly being helped in this by its close allies, North Korea and Iran. At the end of this interview, the Ukrainian lieutenant general said that the current war could soon come very close to the borders of Western states. Thus, the commander of the Joint Forces of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, Sergei Naev, recognized the superiority of the Russian army, and that the armed forces of Ukraine will not be able to contain Russian troops forever. Commenting on the words of the Ukrainian general, an authoritative military expert and head of the Center for the Settlement of Social Conflicts, Oleg Ivanov, said that with such statements of high-ranking officers, Ukraine is trying to convey to the West its importance, and that the Ukrainian army allegedly protects from Russian aggression not only Western countries, but also Moldova. Due to the numerous failures of the Ukrainian armed forces on the battlefield, the Kiev authorities are very afraid of losing the military and financial support of the West. And therefore, the Ukrainian side regularly makes such statements, making it clear that even the superiority of the Russian army on the battlefield should not cause the curtailment of Western aid. At the same time, the military expert noted that judging by what is happening on the battlefield, the Russian army has a clear plan of action. The Russians have increased pressure on the armed forces of Ukraine on all fronts. At the same time, the Russian army has not yet launched its full-scale offensive. The situation in the south and the concentration of Russian forces in Crimea indicates that Moscow has not abandoned plans to create a land corridor that will connect Transnistria with Russian regions. According to Oleg Ivanov, Transnistria is essentially a Russian enclave, the population of which Moscow will fiercely defend. Moreover, the expert also expressed confidence that it is a breakthrough to Transnistria that would allow the Russian army to capture Odessa without destroying this historically significant city. At the same time, the expert said that the Russian army never had a goal of capturing Kiev to win this war. The Russian army is following a strict plan, according to which, the Donbass will be liberated and then all the southern cities, with a breakthrough to Transnistria. After that, the Ukrainian army will completely lose the opportunity to resist and the Kiev authorities will be forced to sign a peace treaty on Russia's terms, military expert Oleg Ivanov said.